All right, so many of you have been asking for this one, a deep dive on gluten.
Yeah.
So we're going to do it.
Absolutely.
Seems like everyone's got an opinion about gluten these days.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I was at a dinner party the other night,
Yeah.
and someone was like, I can't eat bread. It makes me feel so sluggish.
Yeah.
You know?
I hear that.
So it got me thinking,
Right.
how much of this is real and how much of it is just hype?
Mm-hmm.
So that's why we brought in our AI expert
That's me.
to really kind of go through all of the latest studies and articles you guys have sent.
Yeah.
And I got to say, the results are pretty eye-opening.
Yeah. It's interesting. Gluten-free has become such a trend.
Yes.
There was a survey in 2024 that showed that 40% of people believe that gluten causes inflammation in everyone.
That's a lot.
Yeah, it's a big number.
That's huge.
Yeah.
That makes you wonder where it all started.
Right. Like, when did this all begin?
Like, I remember when Gwyneth Paltrow was really pushing the gluten-free thing.
Oh, she was a big proponent of it.
Yeah, it felt like everyone suddenly became an expert.
Everyone was like, oh, I'm sensitive to gluten.
Exactly. But there's a big difference between, like, anecdotal evidence and hard science.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what does the research actually say?
Well, there was this really important study that came out in 2024 from the NIH.
Oh, wow.
And, the NIH, this is like the big...
They're the authority.
They're the authority, right?
Yeah.
And they found that only 1% of the population actually needs to avoid gluten.
1%.
1%.
That's crazy.
Compared to the 40% who think that they're...
I know, that's a huge difference.
There's a massive discrepancy.
Yeah, it really makes you wonder, like, are we just creating unnecessary fear around food?
Right.
If only 1% of people
Yeah.
need to avoid gluten, are we all kind of missing out?
Potentially.
Yeah. On nutrients or even...
Yeah, and think about the social implications, too. You're constantly having to explain why you can't eat something or feeling like you can't participate in,
social gatherings?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, for sure. And that's a big...
It's a big deal.
That's a big deal.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got to talk about all these gluten-free products.
Oh, yeah.
That are everywhere now.
They're everywhere.
They're like flooding the market.
Yeah, you go to the grocery store and it's like a whole aisle.
Right. And they're marketed as healthier alternatives.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any truth to that?
Oh, not necessarily. A lot of those gluten-free products are actually highly processed and they lack a lot of the fiber and nutrients that you would find in whole grains.
Right.
So they're essential for people with celiac disease.
Oh, yeah.
But for the average person, they're not really any healthier.
Okay, so we've established that gluten isn't like universally bad.
Yeah.
But who should actually avoid it?
Right. So this is where we get into the difference between celiac disease and gluten sensitivity.
Okay.
So celiac disease is an autoimmune disorder, which basically means that your body's immune system attacks the small intestine when gluten is present.
Oh, wow.
And that can lead to all sorts of problems.
Like what?
Like damage to your small intestine, which can prevent you from absorbing nutrients.
Oh, that's bad.
Yeah. And then the symptoms can range from, digestive issues like diarrhea and bloating to fatigue, anemia, even bone problems.
Wow. It's a lot.
It's a lot.
More than just like feeling sluggish.
Yeah, it's a serious condition.
Yeah.
And even trace amounts of gluten can trigger these reactions.
Oh, so complete avoidance is essential.
Absolutely.
Okay. And gluten sensitivity.
Right.
Is that the same thing?
No, it's not quite the same thing.
Okay.
So some people experience symptoms like bloating and discomfort after eating gluten, but they don't have the same immune response or intestinal damage as someone with celiac disease.
Gotcha.
So the exact mechanisms of gluten sensitivity are still being studied. And there are different types with varying levels of severity. So it's less about complete avoidance and more about just finding what works best for your body.
So it's not one size fits all.
Exactly.
Which I think is the most interesting part about this.
Right.
So what would you say is the main takeaway for all of us listening?
Okay. If you suspect that you have an issue with gluten, don't self-diagnose.
Don't go on WebMD.
Yeah, stay off of WebMD.
Exactly.
Talk to your doctor.
Yeah.
They can run tests to determine if you actually have celiac disease or gluten sensitivity.
Right.
And then based on that diagnosis, they can recommend the best course of action, whether it's complete avoidance or just some dietary adjustments.
That's great advice.
You bet.
Well, thank you so much.
Hey, you're welcome.
This has been so informative.
It's been my pleasure.
Really helped us separate fact from fiction.
Absolutely.
And for you listening,
I
think it really begs the question,
right?
What other common food myths are out there?
Oh, there's so many.
I know.
We could do a whole series on this.
We should. Food for thought, right?
Absolutely.
Until next time.
See.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.